Alright, Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone. So we look into our next chapter for IMS511, problem solving and program design 2. So last week, in chapter 4, we have learned about arrays, and before that we learned about looping statement. So usually you will use a looping statement and array. Okay, so for this topic, we will look into the C++ structure. So what is the importance of structure? So structure is very important, especially when you are dealing with a large number of coding. Okay, because if you use structure, you can minimize the number of code that you need to rewrite every time, and also you can also minimize the number of variable that you need to write in your coding. Alright, so structure also we call as struct. So it is a way to group several related variable into one place. So if you have learned about HTML or C++, not C++, it's CSS, cascading style sheet, where you can group a group of similar variable that perform quite a similar function together. So the concept of CSS is quite similar to the concept of structure. So in C++, we do structure to categorize a type of variable that perform a specific function. Okay, for example, let's say you want to describe a car. Okay, you want to describe a car. Okay, so for a car, you will have what we call it several characteristics such as car type, okay, car color, car brand, car speed, and so on. Okay, so in order for you, for easier understanding or for easier for you to retrieve back those kind of data, we can put all the subsection or subcategory into one similar structure, and then whenever we want to call that data, we just need to use what we call it as a class selector. Okay, we can use a class to recall back all the data that we have saved into the system. So unlike an array, so structure can contain many different data type. So for array, you only have one data type. For example, if you want to use integer, you have to use everything as integer. If you want to use string, so all your structure, all your array must be a string. But that rule is not applied to the structure. Okay, for the structure, you can combine integer, you can combine character, you can combine string, double, float, long, and etc. Okay, so this for the example. So to create structure, you need to use the struct keyword and declare each of its members, include the curly braces. Okay, for example, you put the struct here, and as usual, you need to have the opening of the curly braces, and you declare all the variable that you want to use in that structure. Okay, for example, my num is for integer, my string is for the string, mean that you can have two type of data here, which is integer for my num and string for my string. Okay, and then you give the name of the structure. Okay, so for example, the name is my structure. So now let's put some data into it. So to access structure member, for example, you put integer my num, string my string. Okay, and then we assign value to the member of the my structure. Okay, for example, my structure dot my num equal 1. So right now, the value of my num is 1. Because we have declared those things into the variable. Okay, and then second thing, my structure, my string equal hello world. So mean that if you are using structure, you don't need to declare an array for each of the data type. Okay, for example, if you are using an array and you have this kind of data, you need to declare two type of array. Okay, one is for the integer and another one is for string. And whenever you want to display or whenever you want to insert those data or you want to update those data into the array, you need to do it twice and into a different separate array. Okay, for structure, you only need to use the same structure, but you just key in the data, or you can use either cin, or you can just give a predefined value to the variable. And if you want to display, so as usual, okay, for example, my structure dot my num, my structure dot my string. So right now the value for my num is 1, the value for my string is hello world. And one structure also can have multiple variable. Okay, for example, my struct 1, my struct 2, my struct 3, my struct 4, my struct 5, and so on. Okay, so it depends on the type of program that you are currently doing, or the type of algorithm. The more complex algorithm that you have, the more complex structure that you will need to develop for your program. Okay, so for example, we use struct for string branch and string model int here. So we declare two variables, mica1 and mica2. So the next step is we need to assign the value to this variable. So how to do that? So you just look into the first example. Okay, for example, the first variable we put it as mica1. Okay, mica1. So mica1 dot brand equal bnw, mica1 dot model equal tx5, mica1 dot year 1999. So that is the value for the first variable. And for the second variable, or for the second structure, mica2 brand Ford and model for the Mustang, and year is 1969. And whenever you want to display those data, you just need to call back the variable that we have declared previously. Okay, for example, mica1.brand, mica1.model, mica1.year, and all the data that you have put into your structure will be displayed on your screen or on your program. Name structure, you can also use a name structure. By giving a name to structure, you can treat it as a data type. Okay, so this means that you can create a variable with this structure anywhere in the program at any time. For example, struct my data type. This structure is named my data type. Okay, integer my num, string my string. Okay, so for example, so struct car. Okay, string branch, string model, and integer year. So create a car structure and store it in mica1. So it's quite similar to the previous example. You just update the number of the data. Alright, so that's all about the topic of my structure. So we have a couple of exercises. So please complete this exercise and submit at the end of the day via the Google Drive. So please remember to put your name on those of the exercise, and please make sure that you submit your C++ file alongside the exercise that you have completed. So if you have any problem with the coding, you can always message me via WhatsApp and so on. And please proceed with your group assignment. So we currently on week 7 or week 8. We have about, I think, about 5 to 6 weeks before your presentation. So please make sure that you already start with your group assignment. Alright, so assalamualaikum and goodbye.